what's long and furry, but also short and furry, but also medium-sized and furry, and eats ants? If you guessed anteaters, you're right, and you win the prize. I don't know what the prize is, but you won it. Congratulations. Hi, hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we are going to be talking about anteaters. The reason I chose anteaters as the subject of today's video is because I saw a video of one walking on TikTok for the first time and was so heavily disturbed by it that I have not been able to stop thinking about them since. And the way I learn about things that slightly terrify me is by drawing them. So I will be drawing anteaters and talking about all of the things I learned while researching them. But before we dive into the mysteries of the anteater, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any more of this riveting content. Okay, so to start, their scientific name, that I'm not even going to try to pronounce, means worm tongue, which is very fitting because I don't know if you noticed, but they have a very long worm-like tongue. And in their little section of the animal classification system, there are 4 different kinds of anteaters. There are giant anteaters, which are obviously giant, northern and southern tamanduas, which are they're really similar, so I'm just going to talk about them in tandem with each other because they're pretty much just the same thing. And then, last but not least, the silky or pygmy anteater, which is the smallest out of all of them. They all have kind of the same things in common across the board: long tongue, sticky saliva, which is really gross, a small mouth with no teeth, and they all have like prehensile tails that can grab onto stuff, except for the giant anteater for some reason. Okay, so to start off, we're going to start with the big ones, the big guys, giant anteaters. And giant anteaters are the ones that spurred this whole ordeal. They're the reason that this video exists. Because the video I saw on TikTok was of a giant anteater walking, and it was horrifying. It just looks like a person in an animal suit. It doesn't look like an actual creature to me. Like, their limbs, the front legs, don't move like you think legs would. They move like stilts where they don't bend and all that. It's so... And true to their name, they are giant. These things can get up to 6 foot long, and their tail is almost as long as their body. Like, I don't think a thing that eats ants and termites needs to be that big. I just don't think so. For example, the next kind of anteater we're going to talk about are the northern and southern tamanduas, which are also known as, side note, they're also known as lesser anteaters, which is incredibly insensitive. But I digress. Anyways, these things are much smaller than the giant anteaters. They only get up to 3 to 4 feet long, which is a much more reasonable size for a creature that eats something as small as ants. They also stand really funny, like they stand with their arms sticking out, and they stand like this so much that most, if not all, of the reference pictures I found are of them standing like that. I don't know why they do it, but I love it. I think it's hilarious. And they're much less scary than the giant ones. So these guys, if I was to make a tier list of anteaters, northern and southern tamanduas would be like S tier, and then giant anteaters would be C tier. I was gonna put giant anteaters at F tier, but then I remembered that they're the only anteaters that are endangered, so I had to put them at C because I felt bad. Now, as for the next kind of anteater we're going to talk about, these ones don't scare me as much as the giant ones, but I'm still not a huge fan of them. I still think they kind of look a little creepy, so I would have to put them at like A tier because they're not as bad. I dislike the giant anteaters more than I dislike these guys. So, with that, the smallest member of the anteater family, which is the silky or the pygmy anteater, goes right into A tier. Now, silky anteaters can get up to like 17 inches long and weigh 8 to 3 ounces, which is really cute. Like, they're pretty cute size-wise. Then they're also very nicely shaped for a creature that eats ants. They're not overtly large, but they're not super small either. They're very, very good shaped. But they have a much shorter face compared to other anteaters, which is interesting. And they're more made for climbing and living in trees than living on the ground like other anteaters do. And the main thing I find creepy about them is they have these big ol', like 1 or 2 really big claws on their front feet, and they have these little pads that they use to like wrap around and then grab onto trees, which is useful, right? I get it. It has a purpose, but it still looks like a little alien baby that hatched and is now living in a tree. And I can't get that image out of my head. So that's why I'm still not a huge fan of them. They would be cuter if they had ears. The fact that they don't have like ears like the other 2 anteaters messes with me a little bit. And honestly, I can't tell if I think these guys are cute or horrifying anymore. Like, the whole point of this was to research them and learn about them and draw them, so hopefully they wouldn't be as creepy to me, but they still weird me out. I mean, like, yeah, they're fluffy and all, but like, giant anteaters can run up to 30 miles an hour, swim, and climb trees. They can get a speeding ticket in a school zone. If a 6-foot-long, furry, sticky-tongued, large-clawed animal comes running towards you at 30 miles an hour isn't terrifying, then I don't know what is. If I absolutely had to pick a favorite, it would be the southern and northern tamanduas. I like the way they stand, and they're smaller than the giant ones, so they're less scary, but they also have ears, unlike the silky ones, which makes them less alien-like to me. Still, I don't think I'd ever want to meet one in real life. Like, even if it was friendly and like nice to people, I just don't think I would be down to hang out with an anteater. I'm gonna formally apologize to anybody whose favorite animal is the anteater, but I can't get on the anteater train. Like, I just don't get it. They look weird to me. The giant ones freak me out. The tiny ones kind of look like aliens. I don't know what to tell you. I respect their ant-eating ability, and I appreciate what they do. I'm sure they're great for the ecosystem, but I think it's for the best that we both just mind each other's business. But what about you guys? After watching this video and maybe doing some of your own research, maybe you're an anteater expert, which I wouldn't be surprised. I only did like 30 minutes to an hour of research. What is your thoughts on anteaters? Are they adorable? Are they kind of creepy? Are they possibly aliens in anteater suits trying to do recon on Earth? I mean, if I was an alien doing reconnaissance on a foreign planet, I would make myself a random creature suit and then wear it. Like, heck yeah, that sounds awesome. But why would they be eating ants? Like, that's the part that wouldn't really make sense. Why ants out of all things? This is why we need to come into contact with aliens so we can tell them that there's better food on Earth than ants. Like, what about pizza? Or, like, Mexican food? That's so much better than ants. Poor aliens, man. Anyways, the possibility of anteaters actually being aliens aside, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss my next video. I post every Wednesday, so keep your eyes out for that. But thank you again for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye bye!